You ever hear that old saying, "What you don't see can't hurt you"? I used to believe that back when I was young and foolish. But then I had an encounter that changed everything. It happened in the heart of Hanoi, right by Hon Kim Lake, a place teeming with tourists and locals alike, all blissfully unaware of the darkness lurking just beneath the surface. I'd grown up hearing the stories, of course. Every kid in Hanoi knows about Hon Kim's legendary turtles and the emperor who returned the sword to them. But there's another story, one much darker and not as widely shared. It's about Kan Manu, the female ghost. It was a sticky, humid night in late August when I first saw her. I just finished a shift at the small cafe where I worked, a stone's throw from the lake. The city was still buzzing with life, the sound of motorbikes weaving through traffic, and the faint chatter of street vendors hawking their goods. But I was dead tired and decided to take the long way home, a stroll along the lake to clear my head. The lights around Hon Kim shimmered on the water, giving it an almost otherworldly glow. The air was thick with the scent of night-blooming jasmine and the distant sizzle of grilled meat from a nearby vendor. I walked slowly, enjoying the relative quiet. That's when I noticed her. At first, she was just a shadow in the distance, standing unnervingly still by the water's edge. I wouldn't have given her a second glance if it weren't for how out of place she seemed. Everyone else was moving, jogging, talking, laughing, but she stood there, frozen like a statue. As I got closer, I could make out more details. She was dressed in a traditional bodai, pure white, her long black hair cascading down her back like a waterfall. Something about her made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. But it wasn't just her stillness or her old-fashioned attire. It was the way the night seemed to bend around her, the shadows clinging to her like a second skin. I should have turned back right then. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to leave, to walk away and never look back. But something about her drew me in, like a moth to a flame. I slowed my pace, my footsteps growing quieter as I approached. The closer I got, the more I could see that something was very wrong. Her face, I couldn't see it clearly, but there was a darkness where her eyes should have been, like twin voids staring back at me. "Chi Oi," I called out, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to sound calm. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer, didn't move, but her head tilted slightly, just enough for me to catch a glimpse of her face in the dim light. It was then that I saw it. The twisted, unnatural smile that stretched across her pale lips, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, too pointed. My heart pounded in my chest, and I froze. I wanted to run, but my legs refused to cooperate. She was watching me now, her head fully turned in my direction, that awful smile never wavering. The air grew colder, the night sounds dimming, until all I could hear was the frantic thudding of my own heartbeat. "Dee," she whispered, her voice like the rustling of leaves in the wind. "Dee, before it's too late." But I couldn't move. My feet were rooted to the spot, and all I could do was stare back at her, transfixed by the eerie, unnatural glow that seemed to emanate from her eyes. They were no longer dark voids, but twin orbs of pale, sickly light. "Chi Oi, I don't understand." Before I could finish, she stepped closer, her movements fluid and graceful, like she was gliding over the ground. The cold air around me thickened, and I could barely breathe. I knew then that this was no ordinary woman. "I was betrayed," she said, her voice now cold and sharp like broken glass. "They left me to die, here in this very lake." Images flashed through my mind of a young woman, abandoned and drowning in the murky waters of Hon Kim, her cries for help drowned out by the night. The terror, the desperation in her eyes. It was her. This ghostly figure before me was the same woman who had met such a cruel fate so many years ago. She was close now, close enough for me to see the tears streaming down her face. Tears of blood, thick and dark. Her cold hand reached out, and as her fingers brushed my cheek, I felt a chill seep into my skin, freezing me to the core. "Leave," she whispered again, "or you'll join me." I didn't need to be told twice. Somehow, I found the strength to turn and run, my legs finally obeying the primal urge to flee. I didn't look back, didn't dare. I could feel her presence behind me, could hear the soft rustle of her dode as she followed. But I kept running, my heart pounding in my ears. When I finally reached the busy streets again, the sounds of the city rushing back to fill the void, I stopped and turned around. The lake was calm, serene, as if nothing had happened. She was gone, vanished into the night, leaving only the memory of that twisted smile and those terrible glowing eyes. I'd never walked by Hon Kim at night since. I've heard the stories, the whispers from those who've seen her too. They say she appears to those who are lost, those who are vulnerable, and she offers them a choice, to join her in the cold depths of the lake, or to live with the knowledge of what they've seen. I'll never forget that night, the night I came face to face with Kan Manu, the female ghost of Hon Kim Lake. Some nights, when the air is still and the city is quiet, I can still feel her cold breath on my neck, still see the flash of her blood-red tears in the darkness. And I know, deep down, that she's still there, waiting for the next lost soul to wander too close to the water's edge.